So, um, I just uploaded a video about voice acting, and I think, given how long it's been since I last posted a rant or rave, I'm walking through a tunnel, so it's dark. Sorry, a lot of juxtaposition in lighting. I also trying to shoot in landscape mode. I mentioned that I should be doing that in a previous video because I've seen many screeds against people, videographers behaving badly, shooting in portrait mode. And while I don't particularly hate it one way or the other, out of respect for all those other people and my agreement on the comfort and ease of watching in landscape, I'm trying to make sure that I do that more often. So, I wanted to talk about sorry, I'm walking up a hill, making sure I don't get killed by a speeding bicyclist. Technology. My grandfather lived to be 97 years old. He was born in 1917. He died in 2014. He made his 97th birthday and lived with a few days to spare. And my grandfather loved technology. It was just, he was always the first one to adopt. He upgraded his business whenever he could, always trying to get the newest machinery, equipment, anything, not just in the pursuit of the almighty dollar, but things that would make things more efficient, things that made things easier, not just for him, but for his employees, for the company in general. And my grandfather loved how technology augmented things. He grew up at a time when a radio was the height of consumer technology. He came into his age. When he came of age, television still wasn't even a thing. My grandfather in his 90s, he loved cell phones. I mean, he loved cell phones ever since they first came out, but, you'd see him and he was on playing games on his touchscreen computer with my grandmother. He would instant message. He would video chat. My grandpa was amazing. You'd think like there are people in their 60s screaming for their kids, hey, come show me how this works, And my grandfather has found better living through technology. And a lot of other people do too. A lot of people rely on technology every day. Even the Amish are starting to who are notoriously technology avoidant. I just saw a thing in the news about, I can't remember the headline, but it was basically alluding to the fact that even the Amish are starting to relax their tech avoidant ways of life. It's like an evolve or die situation, I suppose. I'll have to look up the article again because I bookmarked it, but there are many people who rely on technology to facilitate their daily life, either through technology functioning as a digital assistant, helping them organize their schedules, managing, their workload, computers and digital assistants, PDAs, all of those things. And then people rely on technology to live. People with pacemakers, people with, artificial valves. There's a helicopter overhead. Artificial limbs. And they're starting to even help restore vision in the blind. Things that you just couldn't imagine would be possible. even 20 years ago, certainly not 50 years ago, not 100 years ago. And now, who knows what will happen in the next 20 years? Who knows what will happen in the next 50, the next 100 years? You can only dream. You just have to wait to see what dreams come true. But one area of technology that is currently under threat, and I think it's important, is smart home technology, and more specifically, the smart home assistant, artificially intelligent assistants that have been put before us by several of the major tech companies. Amazon with Alexa, Google Home / Assistant from Google, Siri from Apple, and to a lesser extent, Bixby from Samsung, and even Cortana from Microsoft. We are seeing some slight evolution with the recent spate of AI, Chat GPT, and the development it's spurring in the industry with Microsoft and Google and their own artificial intelligent bots. But one thing that I'm seeing, which is alarming to me, is the either paid gatification, the downgrading thereof of equipment, the being made rendered obsolete or redundant older smart home equipment like digital displays and things of that nature. Society is always moving. Technology is always moving. There's a thing called the singularity. As technology improves, it moves on a scale, and on a graph. They say there'll come a day where, the advancement of technology will just be, the potential is infinite, and Intel could put out a processor on Monday and have it be rendered obsolete by Friday. That's a vast oversimplification, but you get the idea. I think this kind of ties into the business model of planned obsolescence. And I can't say that, these tech companies are intentionally hamstringing or planned obsolescence into their devices. But I think there is a role of stewardship that is of vital importance. And I'm going to explain why. It's not just enough to think of the people whose lives are marginally augmented by, Google Home and Alexa to play music and to show them recipes on their screen-based smart home devices, to automatically play Stranger Things at the snap of a finger. I refer more to people who have come to rely on these digital devices to meet everyday needs because they are differently abled. The blind, the hard of hearing, the visually and orally challenged, orally AURALLY. And then we haven't entered the realm of robotics so much yet, so thankfully there are no robots that are no longer being supported for updates yet, but I imagine those days are coming. I remember seeing a computer advertisement posted in a meme recently, and a lot of people pointed and laughed at it because it was a desktop computer from, I believe, E-Machines, and it said it was future-proof. Never needs updating. Good. I don't. And this goes into the argument of, what is a lifetime supply? You win a lifetime supply of chocolate, so they send you, 50,000 bars of chocolate. or you win a year's supply of fruit roll-ups, you get 365 fruit roll-ups. The devil's in the details, right? And obviously many people pointed at this old advertisement for this computer because the posted specs, I honestly believe there's more computing power in my Samsung wall fast travel adapter than there is now in that 20-odd-year-old desktop computer. I mean, it's a proven fact that there is more computing power in that Samsung travel fast charger adapter than there was in the lunar module from the Apollo missions. It's, I think, which even, back then was a quantum leap in technology, because back then computers filled rooms, and they made I think a 16 kilobit computer that fit into the lunar module. So you have to understand how impressive that achievement was. But obviously that was, 60 years ago. Technology can't last forever. I understand. Even if there's not planned obsolescence, even if there isn't some secret cabal of snickering, mustachio twirling, technology nerds and engineers plotting to, extract as much money for as little value in return as possible. But I think companies that put out this technology have to consider the very real I'm walking on the bike path and there's a lawn equipment going. Beautiful out. The very real impact to the public who adopts this technology, i.e. puts money in their pockets, and then they say, oh, this product that you paid, $300 for is only going to really last about 5, on the outside 7 years, and then it's quitsies. Or, as just recently happened in the news, the third-party supporters of Google's smart home display business, LG, Lenovo, it was just announced that their third-party smart speaker and screen devices were being rendered obsolete, and that they would no longer be receiving updates and no longer supported by Google to integrate into the Google Home / Smart Assistant ecosystem. And I'm seeing increasingly news articles stating that, these companies are starting to become more and more deeply dissatisfied with their balance sheets in regards to the failure for these platforms, these smart home and digital assistant platforms, to be able to be monetized. I think, I can't speak to the whole business model of advertising and, how companies generate their revenue, because that would be worth 10 videos, like Google's AdSense platform and what have you. But I think, can we argue that these companies have a responsibility of, they introduced a new category of technology into the public, and they created it to be a fee-free, unmonetized system. And now they're saying, Google is saying, oh, the amount of server time that and processing power that's required to operate, Google Assistant and Google Home, every time someone says okay or hey, I don't want to say it because it'll make it pop up on my phone, and then okay Bleagle, what time is it? Okay Schmeagle, what's the weather like in Tokyo? Every time you do that, it's costing the company money, so to speak. And I don't debate that. I don't deny that these are important things to consider. But by these companies abandoning these platforms, it's not just impacting people who wanted to be able to play, Huey Lewis and the News with the simple voice command, or, find the quickest directions to the nearest McDonald's while driving. Some of these people who rely on these platforms, the capability impaired or differently abled, who rely on them to, provide audible or visual augmentation to their otherwise impacted lives. I think to rip these things away is something that should not be so hastily done. I think it would be tantamount to cruel, and I wonder if it could even merit some kind of consideration of, I don't mean the government coming in and saying, no, you're not allowed to abandon this business model, but maybe the government should provide some kind of, support, or there should be some kind of government-funded program to prop up this industry in the same way that they prop up telephone, television, radio, broadband. Because I think at a point, the requirements of smart life are going to become so entrenched and intertwined into daily life that they will be as important and vital and essential to daily existence as it is important to have things like computers managing payroll and farm reports and climate models, all of these things that, if you were to rip out the digital rug from under humanity, countless millions would die because their life and existence relies on the careful management that we cannot roll the clock back on. I think that very careful conversations need to be had by these companies about the responsibility they have for having us invest so heavily in these systems, Alexa Show, Google Hub, Google Nest, all of these, Siri's HomePod, things of that nature that are now a part of our lives. And I think, maybe offer some kind of, make it fee-based, make people pay a small subscription. I think $5 a month would not be an unreasonable cost for many people. And if you could demonstrate like a severe financial need, and that having to pay a fee and have these digital assistants removed from your life would prove an undue hardship, you could apply for waiver of the monthly fee or something. Say you're an 89-year-old grandma with cataracts and you rely on Google Home to, tell you that the front door is locked, and because your mobility is impaired and you can't check all the windows, that Alexa's security system from Ring is telling this 80 plus year old octogenarian grandmother that all the windows and doors are secure, and so she doesn't have to get, her assistant to lift her up out of bed or what have you, I think these are conversations that should be had, as opposed to just, saying, the server time is costing us billions of dollars every year and the electricity costs are through the roof. Let's shut down Alexa and Google Home. Let's dial back. Let's cut budget and funding from those departments and, let the system just slowly become worse and worse until people either abandon them or we just say, we abandon all pretense and just announce next week that we're ending these programs, these tech CEOs. So I don't know if this was just a long and rambling and strange video. It's 20 minutes long, but I think it's something that's important to consider about the impact that would be had if these technologies, this whole entirely new category of technology, on this platform were to be ripped from us, especially for those for whom it has been so beneficial. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for listening. Bye.